Secretary Rex Tillerson makes his first official visit to Asia this week as Secretary of State. Tillerson is being counted on to find new ways to deal with the threat from North Korea at a time when a political crisis in neighboring South Korea threatens to upend the entire strategy. And while the Secretary works with U.S. allies in Asia, some are now also questioning the messages he was sending as CEO of Exxon. That story developed today. Correspondent Rich Edson has our report tonight from Tokyo.
As Secretary of State Rex Tillerson departs for Japan, South Korea and China, North Korean state television is welcoming him to the region.
If South Korea and the United States invade North Korea's sovereignty and dignity, our Army will launch the merciless ultra-precision strikes from the ground, air, sea, and underwater, so they'd better stop being reckless.
To counter North Korean aggression, the U.S. is hosting annual military exercises with South Korea. Will position military drones in South Korea and, to the objection of China, is also deploying a missile defense system there. North Korea's missile and nuclear programs and coordinating a response to them is a priority for Secretary Tillerson on this Asia trip.
What are next steps we can take to really put pressure on the regime to make them feel and pay a price for their behavior?
There's also a substantial economic component to this trip. President Trump withdrew from the massive 12-nation free trade agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and Asian allies are establishing their new relationship with the United States and its new administration. Then there's China. The U.S. has a more than $650 billion trade relationship and a more than $330 billion trade deficit, a dynamic President Trump has promised to disrupt.
These are valuable trading partners. And, that's another thing that's going to be discussed is, how do we look at trade issues? How do we foster more productive bilateral trade relations with these countries? And that includes, obviously, China.
And as Rex Tillerson makes his first trip as Secretary of State to Asia, New York's Attorney General is accusing Exxon, under Tillerson's leadership, of distorting its understanding of climate change. In a letter to a New York Supreme Court justice, the New York Attorney General's office writes it discovered Tillerson used an alias over email, Wayne Tracker, and that, quote, Mr. Tillerson used this secondary email address to send and receive materials regarding important matters, including those concerning to the risk management issues related to climate change that are the focus of OAG's investigation. New York's Attorney General says Exxon is withholding documents. The oil company says it has been responsive to subpoenas. Exxon also says Tillerson's use of that email alias, Wayne Tracker, was to communicate with senior officials on a host of issues, not just climate change. Brett?
Rich Edson in Tokyo. Rich, thank you.